Dwight Freeney joining me the morning after Super Bowl 59. I gotta ask you, and I don't even know where you'd like to start. Maybe just what surprised you most about the Super Bowl and what happened?
Man, there's a lot to unpack. A lot to unpack. I would say this. What I was surprised about was it wasn't a close game. Um, I thought the Philly, was going to win. The Eagles, they had the number one defense coming in, and I was telling everybody this week. I said, look, that's a team that's dangerous, and the reason why they're dangerous is their defense is playing very well, and they're playing great complementary football with how they play offensively. All right, they like to hold on to the ball for a long time. All right, you see the possession clock. Kansas City didn't have that many possessions. That's based on how Philly operates their offense. So they don't really get big chunks all the time. Once in a while you have a run by Saquon, but for the most part, it's a very offensive controlled, time controlled offense. So once they get up, it's going to be hard to come back. So when I'm watching this game, okay, and I'm like, all right, let's see what's going to happen.
Okay.
I promise you, in the first quarter, when I saw Jalen Hurts sitting back there, sipping basically mimosas, he had all time in the pocket. Nobody was around him. No one was anywhere near. He could do whatever he wanted, okay? And completing passes, no pressure. And when the Kansas City Chiefs brought pressure, they had all their blitz routes and all their hot routes
Yeah.
dialed up, and things were working perfectly in their favor when they decided to blitz, right? And if you looked at the other side, Patrick Mahomes, it looked very similar to the Tampa game in the Super Bowl where that offensive line could not hold up. And that defensive line from Philadelphia, Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, those guys were getting after it. And they were putting pressure on Mahomes from only four down linemen. All right. And I think, me coming from a place where, we didn't blitz a lot. So
Mm,
it was all
mm.
about the four guys up front getting pressure on the quarterback. If you would come up with a perfect scenario defensively, it would be being able to put pressure on the quarterback without blitzing. All right. And
Yeah,
that's
he
what they
didn't
did.
blitz. He did. Vic Fangio, OG that he is, so happy. He did
Yeah.
not blitz once. The
He didn't
Eagles
have
sacked
to.
Mahomes 6 times. Okay, not one blitz. What made that game plan so effective? Keep going.
Well, that's just what it comes down to, and that's why I love the position of defensive line. That's why I'm in love with pass rushers. That's because it doesn't matter the sweet ass, thing that you draw up on the
Mm,
chalkboard for your offense, the play that's going to guarantee you a touchdown or a first down. You can't account for a defensive lineman just going out, kicking somebody's ass, and making a play in the backfield. You can't account for that. All right. And that's what was happening on play in and play out. The defensive line was taking over the game. So maybe there were guys open. But see, Patrick couldn't get there because he had stress. He had a lot of stress in front of his face, a lot of anxiety because that offensive lineman was not keeping a clean pocket for him. So he was seeing ghosts at times where he felt he needed to hurry up and get rid of the ball because he kept getting hit. And that is I guess, a formula that was created from the very beginning of the game all the way throughout that game, where it became high stress for those guys and Patrick. And when he thought he had time, he didn't. So he felt like he had to get rid of the ball. Not only that, the way that they play the game for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs is they like to throw check downs and eat some
mm-hmm.
clock up as well. This isn't the old Chiefs offense that used to just throw the ball down the field 50, 60 yards and score within 13 seconds. Those years are over with right now. They have a different team. They won a lot of close games. The games were very close this year. All right. They could have easily lost 6, 7 games this year. All right. But they didn't. They're a great team. They won those games. But that tells you that it's a different team you're playing. So now all of a sudden you have a formula that has worked, you all regular season, dink and dunk and throw the 5-yard pass and throw the 6-yard, whatever, out route and throw it to Travis. And all that stuff works until it doesn't. And when you need to extend the field. And when they got down in the second quarter, they were like, oh shit, we got to figure something out. And it was about too late then. Now you want to balance the game and run the ball, but they were loading the box, okay? So it's a numbers game. If you load the box, what are you going to do? You got to throw the ball.
You just said that Patrick Mahomes was seeing ghosts.
Oh, yeah. That's what happens. That's
How
what happens. You
rattled
see dead,
how
you see dead
rattled
people.
how rattled did he look to you?
I mean, I wouldn't say tremendously rattled, but I would say that his clock sped up. They sped him up because of the pressure that was being brought. He was very uncomfortable. But we've seen Patrick make great plays in pockets before. But see, the difference is their pressure comes from the interior and the outside. So you got D tackles who are beasts that put pressure on him from coming from the inside, right, to out.
Right.
And you have outside guys who are not getting high and coming back inside. So they're kind of conversion on him, and he's feeling that on every single pass play. I don't remember a pass play where he had a comfortable, easy pocket. He was running for his life, and as he should be. And that's just how the game is played, and that's how you beat, these superstar quarterbacks. Because, in the end, he's an amazing player, one of the greatest quarterbacks that has played this game. But none of that matters if you have no offensive line and you have no time to throw the ball. And I don't care what play you have drawn up on that board. It does not matter. That play is not going to work unless you get an offensive lineman to block for you.
I'm trying to think of the lesson in this, right? There's a lot of conversations going on about Patrick Mahomes. You're saying he's an amazing player. This happened against Tampa.
Yep.
He recovered. What does this say, I guess, about Mahomes as these debates are going to go on and what Philly did to him? And is there a long-term impact?
No, the man is a legend already. He's going to continue to do his thing. All they need to do is solidify that offensive line, give him time to throw. Now, how do you do that? It's easier said than done. When you're playing against teams that don't have a great pass rush, I mean, great, you're going to have no problem. But when you're going against teams who put pressure on the quarterback, all right, and they can do it from the interior and outside and blitz, he's going to have a problem unless they solidify, that offensive line. Now, you don't blitz him because he's going to read out the blitz. He's going to see the blitz coming. Then all of a sudden, here comes the hot routes. Here comes all the different things that they prepared when you blitz him. But if you don't blitz him, then guess what? You got 7 people in coverage, sitting back in zone coverage. And sometimes you mix in man, looking and seeing what routes they've studied and seeing what's going on there. It's a different game when you can get pressure on a quarterback with 4 guys. Let me say it again. It is a different game when you can do that. It's different when you have to dedicate.
Very hard to replicate what Philly did because they have that D-line.
It's the truth. That's what happened. If you think about, even when Tom Brady and those guys lost on, versus the Giants and when they were undefeated going in, it was that defensive line of the Giants putting pressure on Tom. It's the teams that can put pressure on the quarterback with 4 guys, okay, that you will see these amazing quarterbacks who everyone believes just because you have an amazing quarterback, you're going to win the game just because he's, quote unquote, the best guy on the field, which that's a whole nother discussion I don't even want to get into. But in the end, I get it, but you can't account for that guy who's just destroying your offensive guard, your tackles, and put pressure on you. And all those plays just go away.
You don't think the quarterback's the most amazing guy on the field?
No, but that's, I'm biased.
I know it. You mentioned Brady. There's a lot of Brady, a lot of GOAT talk, a lot of conversations, lots being made between Brady and Patrick. What did last night do to that debate?
I don't know if it did anything. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I mean, Tom's been to 10 Super Bowls. And his, that's based on 20, 23 years. I don't even know how long the guy played for, right? And you have, so many other reasons why he won Super Bowls. You know, it wasn't just
Hmm.
Tom. It was a defense played great his first 3, 4 years. So, you know, when you talk about Super Bowls, it's not a individual, just one guy out there, and this is the reason why they won. It's a team accomplishment. And, you know, even when you watch this game here, Jalen Hurts, you know, he had all day to throw the ball. All right. He had receivers to make plays for him. He made great plays as well. This is a team accomplishment. So I always hate the debate normally about who's the greatest because of Super Bowls, because it's just not the quarterback out there. This isn't like basketball or maybe tennis where it's a one-on-one matchup or something like that. So, you know, I
Mm.
don't really know how much this does for the argument of who's going to be the greatest of all time. I think that's a messed up argument to begin with. I don't really know, you know, you can't really have that argument. And that's a whole nother segment we can have at another time. But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be fine. He has what, 4 Super Bowls already, or 3, or
Yeah,
whatever it
and
is. I
he's
mean,
a young player. Hopefully, they go all in, like you're saying, on the
yeah.
offensive line. But it is, I love that you just hate quarterbacks. It's my favorite. I mean, my most viral bite with in our one of my most viral bites of the year on the Up and Adams show
Mhm.
was you saying that Patrick Mahomes takes advantage of the soft ass rules. Don't you remember?
Really? No. Well, it's the truth.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
truth.
And
They
then
need to do away with that. All right. Once he breaks the pocket and he starts running, let him be just like a normal runner. What's wrong with that? All right. Let him
I
run. Listen, you run at your own risk. I get it. Behind the line of scrimmage, okay, let's give him all the protections that he needs. I get it. But once he breaks that line of scrimmage and decides
yeah,
to run, he should be treated like a running back. I don't care what anybody says, because it takes it, because now all of this fake sliding and did he really slide and all that just goes out the window. Listen, you better protect yourself. Just how it used to
yeah.
be back in the day. Protect yourself. You decide to run across the line of scrimmage, you better protect yourself. That's it.
Well, we saw what happens when a defense gets hits on him last night, when the
Yeah.
unease in the pocket and taking so many shots from this insanely complete team and this amazing, amazing Eagles defense. You're happy it was a defensive performance, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
do you think that we'll get to the Eagles side, by the way. I'm sure Eagles fans are like, what are you
Okay.
doing talking about Mahomes and company? We're going to take a break here in a little bit. But why do you think I don't know if you were watching at home. I was there, actually wasn't in the stadium for the beginning of the game. Uh,
Yeah.
it was like a really bad start last night for the Chiefs. And
Mhm.
I've been saying it, it's these 12 pass plays, 1 run play. But why do you think they came out of the gate so flat?
Well, listen, it's not just, it's about what they did defensively. It isn't like they're just out there and no one's out there. You know,
Yeah.
you have to give credit to the defense and what they decided to do. All right. And what they decided to do was they're going to load the box up and force these passes that maybe he didn't want to throw immediately. Maybe they wanted to establish the run. But when you see 8 people in the box and you see, okay, you know what, we can take advantage of this particular thing. Look, you have to throw the ball. You know, you have Patrick Mahomes, you have to maybe dial something up. And it wasn't there based on how the defense was preparing and playing against Mahomes. And it's okay that they didn't, you know, it is what it is. You know, the other team gets paid too. It's not all about, hey, the offense, Patrick sucks because he didn't, or what the Chiefs. No, how about the defense did what they needed to do? They lined up, they answered the call, they executed the game plan that put them, the Chiefs, into really bad situations. They got up on them, and now all of a sudden this run the ball, pass the ball. They couldn't do that. So now they have to play into the hands of Philadelphia.
Is this the greatest performance in Super Bowl history? Defensive performance?
Uh, I don't know, but I wouldn't, I don't know if it's the greatest, but it was a great defensive performance. Um, I couldn't go back. You know, the Super Bowl has been around a long time, so you would have to go
Long
back to
time.
really figure
Yeah.
that out. But I would say, look, they played amazing. They definitely did. This, you know, the Chiefs. Remember, all year it wasn't like the Chiefs were scoring 50 points. People who keep thinking this was the old Chiefs where they were scoring all these points. These games were close. They had the most close games, I think, in the league this year, and came out on top. So
But I
this
thought they
wasn't
were
a
just
team that
playing
was.
down. I thought they were just playing down to competition or bored or
No,
fatigued with these Panthers, these Raiders
no,
games, and no,
no, no,
yeah. So
no,
the
no.
issues
They had,
in your eyes all season long, and were
yeah.
what for the Chiefs? The O line. or not
It was a
having the
lot.
right
It had a
weapons?
lot to do. It was a mix of both. I think it had a lot to do with the offensive line. They weren't
Mm,
they weren't steady and stout there, where you could do all the things, elaborate plays, and then there's also personnel. They didn't
mm.
have the personnel that you would love to have. You didn't have the Tyreek Hills and guys who can just take the top off the defense the right way, and when they don't, they catch a ball and score from wherever. They had to go find receivers in free agency, et cetera, to kind of help their receiving core. This wasn't the same Kansas City Chiefs team people remember. I know it's the same guy. You got Kelsey there, you got Patrick Mahomes, but you
Well,
got
they
Andy
yeah
Reid, but that doesn't make a
yeah
team.
they didn't have Tyreek for 2 of their rings.
Yeah, but the thing is that, and that's my point is this, is they will be fine. Next year, they're going to still have Patrick's still going to be there, and Andy probably
Yes.
still going to be there, and they're going to still have their same scheme, and they have a great scheme. One game does not make or break you. It sucks to lose a Super Bowl. I've lost two. I tried to forget about those, but it really hurts. I mean, I think Tom said something, on the cast while we were watching the game, and it made
Yeah.
all the sense in the world. You stay up. The ones that you win, it's a great feeling, but the ones that you lose, it just stays with you. It never goes away. And I get it. What's going to happen here, and Patrick, this is going to stay with him for a long time. Even when he wins a couple more, which I think he will, it's going to stay with him. But it is what it is. There's only one happy team at the end of the year. There's 31 pissed off teams because they didn't win the Super Bowl. Right. So he just joined the club, right? There's a lot of those guys.
He's felt it before. We'll see what it does to him. We'll take a short break here before. I do want to know with that Super Bowl loss, you wake up the next day. What is
Oh
that
my
like?
God.
What was that like for you?
Ugh, ugh, disgusting. It's like I didn't talk this.
Back on the Up and Adam show with legend and Super Bowl champion Dwight Freeney, kind enough to break down the game, which he loves because it was a defensive performance. He's like, it's as if you won the Super Bowl, I'm sure. Being there in the building last night here in New Orleans, I arrived late and it was just quiet. Even
Yeah.
Eagles fans were doing it, but Super Bowl is always kind of quiet because it's a different mix of people and all of that.
Yeah.
But it was just, I don't know if I was being stunned or just a comfortable lead for the Eagles. It was the eeriest, weirdest, even the celebration after felt like, there wasn't excitement in the fourth quarter. So it was just kind of like, good game, good game. Like, we know it's coming. It was probably the weirdest Super Bowl that I've ever been to, but we got to give credit to the Eagles, the MVP. We talked the D-line. I do want to get into some quarterback play with you and some offense with the Eagles side because Jalen Hurts wins MVP. Saquon Barkley somehow, I think it was 2.3 yards per carry. He was held in check most of the game, so Spags did his thing defensively there. What did impress you most about Jalen and how he played in a vacuum last night?
I mean, he managed the game perfectly. There was one throw that he probably should have made,
Mm-hmm.
and it was an interception. But other than that, I mean, he ran the ball when he needed to run it. When he saw man-to-man coverage and no one had a spy on him, he was running the ball. And he was just managing the game. He was making all the right throws, not taking many risks, not throwing into double teams. It's not all day to throw the ball. Hats off to
Mm-hmm.
the offensive line. They did a great job offensively that game. Perfect game plan, ball control, just eating away at the clock, milk the clock type of offense, and taking advantage when, the defensive backs are thinking it was going to run and play action and throwing the ball deep. It was a perfect game plan, and I think Jalen had a great game.
Jalen, confident, poised, obviously had that one interception. Here he is
Yeah.
after the game. Let's take a listen. I think we have him. Do we have a shot of him after the game?
I can't control what these people think, but if it takes all the hate and all the scrutiny and all the different opinions for me to be a world champion, then keep it coming.
We're talking about what it feels like to lose. He knows what that looks like and what that feels like after having a tremendous game. Like, let's not forget, it's not like he had the worst performance of his lifetime in losing to the Chiefs. He was unbelievable in that loss. it stung. Now he conquered. What does this mean for him? How do you think he should be viewed, as he is somehow a polarizing quarterback for doing what you just gave him credit for, managing perfectly?
I mean, I think he did a great job. And I think that, obviously this adds to the legacy of Jalen Hurts. It just adds to it. This is this one thing he can put on his belt that they can never take away from him. All right. The story's not over. The story's just beginning. We'll find out where he ends up in the end, but they'll never be able to take this away. And, he said something in another interview. He's just talking about how this is a team accomplishment. It ain't just about one player. And I love that. I love to hear that, because it isn't. And even that loss that he had versus Kansas City in the past, it's not all on him. Sometimes a quarterback gets too much blame when they lose and too much credit when you win. It's usually somewhere in the middle, all right, where it happens. So I think, he has the right mindset. He played an awesome game, and he was hard to stop.
A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, like they had the honor of drenching Nick Sirianni at the end of the game. I love that you got to do the same for Tony Dungy back in Super Bowl 41. We were talking about that. How do you think A.J. And Devonta did? I think we have some footage, hopefully. And is there a key to this? Like, how does this go? Who decides who's doing it? Talk me through it.
Well, I don't think there's a who decides who's going to do it. Whoever grabs the Gatorade jug first can do it.
Did you want to do it?
Of course. I've always wanted to dunk. I mean, why not? You got to shower the coach. And the thing is, look, they did a great job. They turned their back when he thought he was looking. They snuck up on him. You see, there's a strategy to it. You got to make sure that the key is you got to make sure he's talking to somebody. Because if he's talking to somebody, he's obviously distracted. And that's when you strike, right? When he's just not paying attention, right? When you have somebody have a conversation with them. And that's what they did.
That was you and Booger McFarland, I believe, right?
Yep, me and Booger.
Amazing. And I think they did a great job, that tandem. And then they got into the locker room last night. The Gatorade was gone. It was a frat house. I don't know if you saw this. They're shotgunning beers. I mean, talk me through Saquon here. He does a pretty good job here.
I love it. I absolutely love it. As it should be. It should be a party. There you go. Getting it done.
Here it is.
And the thing is, look at it. This is what I'm talking about. This is how you're supposed to celebrate, man. And it brings joy to my heart, and it brings back memories, because it's a party all year long. It just all year. The thing lasts forever. The whole off season, it's a party. And then you have to get back to work in July. But, that tour that we had when we won, it lives with you forever. And it started last night for those guys.
What do you mean a tour? What else happens? What do you mean it's a party all year long?
It's a party. It's a party year all night. Wherever you go, you got people saying, "Hey, congratulations! Let's take a shot." You're drunk the whole entire 3-4 months if you drink. It's golf courses. They're toasting you. You go. You have this party at this place. It's a great time if you're into that thing. And it seems like those guys are having a great time.
And they should, with a 40-22 an unbelievable win over the Chiefs team. I wanted to ask you just a little bit about Nick Sirianni, because obviously Fangio is getting a lot of credit, Jalen Hurts getting a lot of credit. I think you have the best, most measured take on how the quarterback should be viewed. It's somewhere usually in the middle as far as getting credit, getting blame. I think that's a very fair take that more people should adhere to. What's the Sirianni in all of this? He just completely outcoached Andy Reid, maybe the greatest head coach of all time.
Absolutely. A lot of credit needs to go to him. He's been criticized for years. And he was actually potentially on the chopping block at some point. People were thinking that he wouldn't even have a job this year. He's done a great job. He's turned that organization around. He has those guys playing for him, playing hard. His decision to go more of a running offense, not thinking about throwing the ball every single play, was probably the best decisions they made all year. Obviously acquiring Saquon was huge, because now you're forced to run it, because you have a a dog back there, Saquon Barkley, who can put up yards. So now you have to run it. And he just all year round, I forgot how many games they won in a row. I don't know if it's like 10 or 11 or whatever it was. But the formula was, play amazing defense, right? You can't have defense is blue collar. You ain't no hiding it. You're playing hard. You're playing great defense for a reason, and you continue that throughout the playoffs. And you run the ball, and that's what they did. Right?
Yeah.
Even though they had weapons outside, where they could have thrown the ball and thrown for 300-400 yards. That's not the formula for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl. And they stuck to who they were, and they run the ball, and they did an amazing job.
And it's hard to do. It's hard to say that discipline, consistency, 10 wins in a row, and then, the media is trying to eat you from the outside in, talking about A.J. Brown. Also just the ability of him to balance some of those personalities, bringing in Saquon, which I think Saquon, I know he didn't have a big game yesterday, but the fact that he is not a give me the ball. He is I don't care, I just want to win. His role in that, alongside Sirianni and everything, just to make everything sort of work in concert, I think doesn't get enough love. It's such a good point that people were questioning if he's the guy, if he can be the guy, if he can whatever. And what an FU to everybody last night. I couldn't love it more for him.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, the guy he's produced winning seasons year in and year out. People have this too high of a standard of what a head coach should be, or what a quarterback should be, or what a player should be. There's only even one of the greatest that's played the game in Tom. They've had bad years and bad seasons. It happens. It is what it is. It's just part of the the game and how it goes. You have your ups and you have your downs. And, they've had a lot more ups than they had downs. And Sirianni has done a great job of managing all of that. And he has a formula that's working for him. So I'm happy that he's won the big one. And, he can ride out to the sunset if he wants, but he's not. He's going to be back next year, and hopefully they do it again. And that's just how it is. That's the game.
I wanted to ask, you're so happy this morning. I love this for you. I do want to, before I let you go, you've got some new friends entering the Hall of Fame. New class. Smallest class in 20 years. Did a lot of talking to Emmitt Smith and Chris Carter and company about that over the weekend. What do you think, Dwight Freeney, of the committee only using those 4 instead of 7?
Look, you know what? They had a conversation with us last year in one of the meetings, and they said, we're going to make it tougher to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Really?
And they believe that it should be a little bit tougher. They wanted it to be a tough place to get into. They didn't want it to be, no offense to the other sports like basketball, you got this guy, that guy, the other, and they just kind of like, next you have a class of like 10 people. They wanted to be more an exclusive place. So they decided this year, I didn't know how many they were going to go with, but they decided to go with, a smaller class and to make it tougher for guys to get in. And
do you like
you
that?
know what? Well, I like the exclusivity part of it. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people deserving to be in it. It's a hard job to do, because you have so many great players who've done so many great things that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And I think eventually everyone's going to get in, that people feel like they should be there at some point. It's just the thing is, at some point, when is that point? You have to go through this every year. You got guys like Reggie Wayne, who's been on the finalist list forever, and he hadn't got in. He's deserving of being in it. But you can't say some of the guys who've made it isn't deserving to be in it as well. So it's a tough decision, tough job of the guys who pick the Hall of Famers who's going to go in. And now it's going to get even tougher because they're making a tougher to get in, the criteria.
I mean, Adam Vinatieri, Reggie Wayne, 2 of your teammates, I'm sure that you think deserve to be.
They all deserve. They all deserve it, and it's a tough thing. Like my first year, I thought, hey, this is the year for me. And it didn't happen for me. I wasn't the first ballot, like everyone was saying I was going to be. Okay, fine. What's going to happen next year? And I thank God I got in. It's going to be like that for a lot of guys. It's not an easy process.
Why do you think why do you think they want to make it more exclusive now? I mean, it's been a debate I like the exclusive. I like that, I was a little surprised Kuechly didn't get in as a first ballot, but if it's, to keep the integrity and the high standard, why do you think that that's a thing right now? What made that change?
You know what? I just think that for them, when they looked at it from different sports and how they wanted to
Mm.
be, above all the others. And I'm not sure how many baseball guys get in. I know, I think that's one of those leagues that, only a few guys get in. So maybe more
Mhm.
like baseball. I don't know. But I know they didn't want it to be, as saturated, I guess, as basketball, where, you every year you're like, okay, this guy barely averaged, this amount of points a game. He's in the NBA Hall of Fame. And, it's kind of like, but it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So you got guys like Yao Ming
Right.
getting into the Basketball Hall of Fame, but he didn't have an amazing, amazing NBA career, but he had a great global career. So it's just kind of weird. So I think maybe that's what the NFL is trying to do, where it's like, look, it's going to be tougher. It's going to be when you make it, people are going to really like it was really hard
I
and they didn't
like
want to go
this.
down the path. And I
This
think
is
that's just what
this is
it
my
is.
favorite thing I've heard you say today. I love that that's how it is. Hey, do you feel sad for Eli?
No, I don't. And I'm not saying that just because he's a quarterback. I promise you, I'm not saying
Why
that
aren't you
because he's a
sad for
quarterback.
Eli? Come on. You're not sad?
Because Eli was an amazing player. He had a great
Yes.
career. He's going to have
Yes.
his time in the sun.